If you ever go fishing alone at night and something bites that doesn't fight back, cut the line. Don't reel it in, because sometimes it's not about what you catch, it's about what notices you catching it. 3 months ago, a man named Caleb Turner went night fishing on Blackwater River in southern Louisiana. He never came home. Police say there were no signs of forced entry, no signs of struggle, just water damage, deep gouges in the walls, and a bathtub filled with dark river water. Neighbors say that late at night, they can still hear someone calling for help from the river. The voice sounds exactly like Caleb, but what answers back doesn't. If you're new here, turn off the lights, put your headphones on, and let me tell you what really happened that night. Before we begin, if you enjoy slow-burn horror stories grounded in realism, stories that feel like they could actually happen, make sure you're subscribed. Most people who listen to these stories at night aren't subscribed, and if you're one of them, you might want to fix that. Because I upload new true-style horror stories every week. Now, let's go back to October. Blackwater River, 1:47 a.m. Caleb Turner had been fishing Blackwater River since he was 8 years old. He knew the bends where the catfish hid. He knew which banks stayed muddy after rain. He knew the way the fog rolled in after midnight when the temperature dropped. And he knew one thing for certain: the river always made noise. Even on its quietest nights, there were frogs, insects, wind through cypress trees. That night, though, it was different. October 18th, cold front moving in. The air carried that metallic smell of coming winter. Caleb had told his neighbor he was heading out for a few hours of solo fishing. Nothing unusual. He preferred going alone, less talking, more listening. He parked his truck off the dirt access road around 1:20 a.m. and carried his gear down to the bank. The moon was barely visible through drifting fog. Water level low, current slow, perfect conditions. At 1:47 a.m., his line went tight. Not a sharp yank, not the aggressive thrashing of a gar, just sudden weight. Caleb adjusted his grip. Big one, he muttered to himself. He started reeling. It didn't fight. That was the first thing that bothered him later. Every large fish fights. They twist, they surge, they panic. This thing just resisted, like dragging a sandbag across the riverbed. It took nearly 10 minutes to pull it close enough for his flashlight beam to catch it. When it broke the surface, Caleb froze. It wasn't a species he recognized. About 4 feet long, smooth gray skin, no visible scales, no whiskers like a catfish, no defined gills. Its body was elongated but thick at the center, tapering unnaturally at both ends. But the worst part were its eyes. Clear, pale, forward-facing, not set on the sides like most fish. And when the flashlight hit them, they contracted, pupils narrowing, adjusting to light. Caleb felt something tighten in his chest. He told himself it was adrenaline, some rare mutation. Pollution did strange things to wildlife. He used his landing hook and dragged it onto the muddy bank. The second it touched land, the river went silent. Not gradually, not slowly fading, instantly. Frogs stopped mid-croak, insects cut off. Even the soft ripple of water against the shore seemed to flatten into nothing. Caleb stood there, breathing harder than he realized. The fish didn't flop, didn't thrash. It simply lay there, blinking, once, slowly. Then its mouth opened slightly, not gasping, not suffocating, just opening, as if tasting air. Caleb should have thrown it back. Every instinct told him something was wrong. Instead, he grabbed his oversized tackle bag, the one he used for bigger catches, and forced the creature inside. The skin felt cold, not slimy, not wet, just cold, like something that had been deep underwater for a very long time. When he zipped the bag shut, he felt movement inside, a subtle twitch, not violent, deliberate, as if testing the space. He slung the bag over his shoulder and started walking back up the dirt path toward his truck. That's when he noticed the fog. It wasn't spreading anymore. It wasn't drifting across the water like normal. It was staying behind him, hovering low over the river, following the shoreline, keeping pace. Halfway up the incline, he heard a splash behind him, heavy, like something large re-entering the water. He stopped walking, listened. Another splash, closer. But that was impossible. He had the fish in his bag. Something shifted inside it again, long, sliding movement. Caleb didn't turn around. He told himself it was just nerves, just his imagination reacting to a strange catch. Then he heard it, soft, almost swallowed by the night. "Caleb." He froze. The voice sounded distant, wet, like someone speaking underwater, and it sounded like his sister who hadn't lived in Louisiana for 3 years. He spun around. The riverbank was empty, fog thickening, no visible movement, no ripples. His heart was pounding now. He started walking again, faster. Behind him, another splash, measured, slow, then the whisper again, closer. "Caleb." This time, it didn't sound like his sister. It sounded like him. He reached his truck and threw the bag into the bed. For a moment, he considered opening it, checking again, making sure he wasn't losing his mind. But something deep inside him told him not to look. As he slammed the tailgate shut, he saw something in the reflection of his truck window, out on the river. 2 pale shapes just above the waterline, watching. And when he blinked, they were gone. He drove home with the bag shifting in the truck bed, and the entire time he felt like something was following him, not on the road, not in the trees, but beneath the ground, moving parallel, keeping pace, waiting. Caleb didn't bring the bag inside. That was the first smart decision he made that night. When he pulled into his driveway at 2:26 a.m., the motion light above his garage flicked on, washing the concrete in pale yellow. Everything looked normal, too normal. His house sat quiet, windows dark. The river was about half a mile behind the property line, close enough to smell on humid nights. He cut the engine. For a moment, he just sat there, listening. The truck ticked softly as it cooled, and from the truck bed, there was movement, a slow, dragging shift, like something inside the bag adjusting its weight. Caleb stepped out and walked to the back. He hesitated before lowering the tailgate. The second it dropped, the bag moved again, a deliberate roll toward the edge. He caught it before it slid off. It felt heavier now. He told himself that was impossible. Adrenaline made things feel strange, nothing more. He carried the bag into the garage and set it down near the old deep freezer against the wall. The garage smelled faintly of oil and damp concrete. Safe, enclosed, controlled. He zipped the bag open just a few inches, enough to shine his flashlight inside. The beam cut across smooth gray skin. The fish was still there, lying still, eyes closed, or at least he thought they were closed. He lowered the light a little further. The eye snapped open, clear, focused, directly at him. Caleb flinched and zipped the bag shut. He stood there, breathing harder than he should have been. "It's just an animal," he muttered. He grabbed an old plastic storage tub and filled it halfway with water from the garage utility sink. It took 3 trips. By the time he came back with the third bucket, the bag had shifted closer to the garage door. Not much, maybe a foot, but Caleb knew exactly where he had placed it. He stared at it for a long time, then slowly knelt down and opened it fully. The fish didn't thrash, didn't struggle. He grabbed it with both hands. Its skin was ice cold, not slick, not slimy, just smooth, dense, and rigid in places where muscle should have flexed. As he lowered it into the plastic tub, it didn't splash. It settled, submerged halfway. Its eyes remained above the waterline, watching. Caleb stepped back. Something felt wrong about the way it held itself. Most fish, when confined, try to escape. This one was waiting. He turned off the overhead garage light and went inside the house, locking the interior door behind him. He told himself he'd deal with it in the morning, figure out what to do, call someone, wildlife services maybe. But as he climbed into bed around 3:05 a.m., he heard the first sound, a dull thud, from the garage. He froze, listened. Another thud. Then scraping, slow, dragging, like something heavy being pulled across concrete. Caleb sat up. The house felt different, too quiet. He reached into his nightstand and pulled out his handgun, waited. The scraping stopped, then a soft metallic tapping. 3 taps against the inside of the garage door. He swung his legs out of bed and moved down the hallway. Each step felt louder than usual. The house groaned slightly with settling wood. When he reached the interior garage door, he paused, pressed his ear against it. Silence. Then something brushed the other side. Not hard, just a faint glide. He flipped the lock and slowly pulled the door open. The garage was dark, except for faint moonlight filtering through the small upper windows. The plastic tub was tipped over. Water spread across the floor in thin, reflective sheets. The bag was torn open completely. Long, clean slashes. Not bite marks, not claw tears. Clean, precise. The fish was gone. Caleb stepped fully into the garage, gun raised. His boots splashed softly through the shallow water. He scanned the corners. Nothing. Then he saw them. Drag marks, wide, wet, leading from the overturned tub across the floor toward the garage door. The large rolling door was still shut, still locked from the inside, but the wet trail stopped right at it, as if whatever left passed through. He felt his stomach drop. That's when the garage light flickered on by itself. Once, twice, then steady. And in the reflection of the puddled water, he saw movement behind him. He spun around, nothing there. But when he looked back down, the reflection was different. The puddles were no longer still. Ripples moved across them, as if something stood just outside the light's edge, disturbing the water. Caleb slowly backed toward the interior door. The ripples followed, not randomly, in step with him. Then a shape moved across the ceiling, a shadow, tall, unsteady, passing over the fluorescent light fixture. He aimed upward, nothing there, but the air felt damp now, humid, like standing near the riverbank. A smell crept in, rot, algae, deep water. Then came the whisper, not from the river, not from outside, from inside the garage, close, wet. "You brought me here." Caleb's grip tightened on the gun. His chest felt tight. "You took what wasn't yours." The water on the floor began slowly creeping toward the interior door, against gravity, pooling, thickening. The garage door behind him groaned softly, metal flexing inward, as if something massive leaned against it from the outside or the inside. He didn't wait to find out which. He backed into the house and slammed the door shut, locked it, braced his back against it. The garage light flicked off, then on, then off again, and through the thin door he heard something move, not walking, not crawling, sliding, wet, heavy, circling the room, slow, patient, waiting. Caleb stayed there until the sound stopped, until the house went quiet again. But he didn't sleep, because around 3:47 a.m. he heard something new. From down the hallway, from the direction of the bathroom, a faint dripping, followed by something else, a soft, steady, ticking sound, like fingernails tapping gently on porcelain. 3:47 a.m. Caleb was still sitting on the hallway floor with his back pressed against the garage door when he heard it. Drip, drip, drip. Slow, measured, coming from the bathroom at the end of the hall. At first, he told himself it was just a faucet, a loose pipe, something explainable. But then came the second sound. Tick, 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 like fingernails tapping lightly against porcelain. Not scratching, not clawing, just testing. Caleb stood slowly. His legs felt stiff. His mouth was dry. The air inside the house felt thicker now, humid, like the river had followed him in. The hallway light was off, but faint blue moonlight spilled through the living room window, stretching thin across the floorboards. He moved carefully down the hall, each step deliberate. The dripping grew louder. The ticking stopped. That silence felt worse. When he reached the bathroom door, he noticed something immediately. Water pooled beneath it, seeping into the hallway carpet. Dark, cold. He swallowed. The door was closed. He didn't remember closing it. He reached for the handle. It was wet. Not condensation, not steam. River water, smelling faintly of algae and decay. He turned the knob and pushed. The door resisted, as if something heavy leaned against it from inside. He pushed harder. It gave suddenly, and Caleb stumbled forward into ankle-deep water. The bathroom was flooded, not overflowing from the sink, not spraying from the shower. The bathtub was full, completely full, the water perfectly still, flat, like glass. The shower curtain hung halfway open, dripping slowly. Drip, drip, drip. The mirror above the sink was fogged over, not from heat, just misted, as if someone had been breathing directly onto it. Caleb stepped further inside. The water on the floor wasn't spreading randomly. It was all flowing toward the tub, as if gravity inside the room pointed in one direction only, toward the water. He looked into the bathtub. At first he saw nothing unusual, just dark water. Then something moved beneath the surface, a slow shape sliding from one end to the other, too long to be the fish, too thick. The surface remained smooth, no ripples, just movement under tension. Caleb backed up slightly. That's when he noticed the drain. The metal cover had been removed, and from the open pipe, water was rising upward, feeding the tub. He felt the room tilt. He reached for the shower curtain and pulled it fully aside. The water inside shifted slightly. And then, two pale eyes opened beneath the surface. Not at the top, not near the drain, deep inside. Larger than before, far larger than the creature he'd caught. Caleb stumbled back into the sink counter. The mirror above it began to clear. Not all at once, but in streaks, as if something invisible wiped it from the inside. Letters began to appear, written slowly through condensation. You opened the door. Caleb shook his head. This isn't real, he whispered. The water in the tub began rising, slowly, not overflowing, just climbing higher inside its boundaries. The eyes beneath the surface didn't blink, didn't move, just watched him. Then the water started to change color, darkening, clouding, until it wasn't clear anymore. It was thick, black, like the deepest part of the river where light never reaches. Something pressed upward from below. The shape distorted the surface without breaking it, like a hand pushing against plastic wrap. A long outline formed, shoulders, a head, too tall to fit inside the tub. Caleb turned and rushed toward the door, but it slammed shut before he could reach it, hard. The force knocked him backward into the flooded floor. The water was freezing. He scrambled up and grabbed the handle. It wouldn't budge. Behind him, the tub water began spilling over. Not chaotic, not splashing, just flowing steadily outward, filling the room faster. The mirror cracked down the center, a thin vertical line splitting his reflection. And for just a second, his reflection didn't match him. It was standing up, still, smiling faintly, while he was panicking. Then the reflection's mouth moved, but Caleb didn't speak. You heard us call. The voice came from the drain, layered, multiple tones overlapping. You answered. The water level reached his knees. The light flickered on and off. Each time it went dark, he felt something brush against his leg, smooth, cold, circling. Each time it flicked back on, there was nothing there. The shower curtain suddenly wrapped tight around something invisible inside the tub, like fabric clinging to a body rising beneath it. The rod bent downward, metal creaking. Caleb screamed and fired his gun into the water. The sound was deafening in the small room. The bullet hit something solid beneath the surface, not flesh, not bone, something dense. The water didn't turn red, it didn't react at all. Instead, the entire tub cracked down the center, splitting open. Water exploded outward across the room, knocking Caleb off his feet. The lights went out completely. Pitch black. Muffled water silence filled the space. Not the absence of sound, but the muffled pressure of being submerged. Caleb couldn't tell if he was breathing air or water. Something wrapped around his ankle, not squeezing, just holding. The voice whispered again, but this time it was his own voice, soft, calm. "You belong where you found us." The grip tightened and pulled. Caleb's fingers clawed at tile, at the doorframe, anything, but the water was dragging him backward, toward the shattered tub, toward the open drain that now looked impossibly wide, far wider than plumbing should allow. Inside it, darkness, moving, alive. He screamed once more, and the hallway light outside flicked on, just for a moment, long enough to cast a shadow under the bathroom door, a shadow that didn't match his shape. Then, everything went silent, completely. By morning, the neighbors would say they heard nothing. No gunshots, no flooding, no screaming, just quiet. When police forced entry later that afternoon, they found the house dry, undamaged, except for one thing: the bathtub filled to the brim with black water, and faint drag marks leading from the hallway into it. Caleb Turner was reported missing at 2:14 p.m. the following afternoon. His neighbor, Mrs. Hargrove, called it in. She said she noticed his truck still in the driveway, garage light on, front door unlocked. That wasn't like him. Deputies arrived at 2:37 p.m. Body cam footage would later show something strange. Not dramatic, not chaotic, just wrong. The house looked completely normal. No flooding, no broken tiles, no bullet holes in the bathroom walls, no sign of forced entry. The garage was dry, concrete clean, no overturned tub, no drag marks, everything in its place, except for one thing: the bathroom. When officers pushed open the door, they found the bathtub filled to the brim with dark water, not murky, not muddy, black, still. One deputy reportedly said, "That's weird, it hasn't rained." They checked the plumbing, no burst pipes, no leaks. The drain was intact, normal size. The mirror above the sink had a thin vertical crack running down the center and faint smudges across the surface, like someone had tried to wipe something away. They drained the tub. The water flowed normally, clear as it left, no debris, no blood, no sign of Caleb. But when the last of the water emptied, there were marks inside the porcelain, long, curved, like something heavy had pressed repeatedly against the interior surface from the inside. Caleb was officially listed as missing. No suspects, no evidence of foul play, just a man who vanished from his own home. But the story doesn't end there, because 3 nights later, Mrs. Hargrove called again, this time at 1:52 a.m. She told dispatch she heard someone outside calling for help. the responding officer wrote in his report, voice appeared to be coming from the direction of Blackwater River. Male, repeating same phrase. The phrase, "Help me, I'm stuck," over and over. When deputies reached the riverbank, they found nothing. No footprints, no flashlights, no boats, just fog drifting low across the surface. And then one of the younger deputies swore he saw something out near the middle of the river. Two pale shapes just above the waterline, watching. The department brushed it off. Nerves, fatigue. But word spread fast through the small community. People stopped fishing at night. Some stopped going to the river at all. But rivers don't stay empty forever. About 6 weeks later, a college student named Darren Cole decided to test the rumors. He brought friends, cameras, posted live, laughing, mocking the river ghost stories. At 1:43 a.m., his line went tight. Viewers watched as he struggled with something heavy, something that didn't fight back. The chat filled with jokes until the camera light caught it breaking the surface. The stream glitched for 2 seconds. When it came back, Darren was silent, staring down. Viewers later clipped the footage. You can still find fragments of it online. They enhanced the audio, boosted the brightness, and in the reflection of the river, behind Darren, stood something tall in the shallows, unnaturally tall, not moving, just watching. The stream ended abruptly. His friends told police he walked into the water, not quickly, not forced, just calmly, like someone responding to a familiar voice. They tried to grab him, but he kept saying, "It's okay, I hear him." Darren was never found. The river was dragged. Nothing surfaced. But here's where it gets worse. Last month, a contractor purchased Caleb's old house. Cheap, quick sale. He began renovations. On the second night, working alone, he called his brother at 3:12 a.m. Said something was wrong with the plumbing. Said water kept appearing in the bathtub, even though he'd shut off the main supply. His brother told him to leave, come back in the morning. The contractor laughed it off, said it was probably old pipes. Before hanging up, he said something strange. He said, "I swear I can hear someone in the drain." The line went dead. When police arrived the next day, they found the house empty. Tools left behind, truck still parked outside. Bathroom dry, bathtub empty. But inside the porcelain, there were fresh marks, long, curved, pressing outward from within. And this time, there was something else. Fingerprints on the inside of the drain pipe, too large to belong to a human hand. They say Blackwater River has deep pockets, places where the bottom drops suddenly, where sonar loses track, where currents circle endlessly beneath the surface. Locals used to call those spots silent wells, because when you threw something in, you never heard it land. If you go there now at night and stand quietly, you might hear something. Not splashing, not swimming, just listening, waiting for someone to pull it closer, waiting for someone curious enough to open the door again. If you made it this far, comment below. I would have cut the line. I read every comment, and I want to know who would have left that thing in the river and who would have brought it home. If you enjoy realistic, slow-burn horror like this, subscribe now. Most people who watch these stories late at night aren't subscribed, and the next one, it might be worse. New horror stories every week. Turn off the lights, lock your doors, and if you ever hear your own voice calling from somewhere it shouldn't be, don't answer it. I'll see you in the next story.